Hello, welcome to Investigation 3. This is going to be fractions, which we already learned in Investigation 2. However, now we're going to be doing thirds, fifths, and eighths. Alright, so example 1 we're going to look at is 1/3 of the 24 students earned an A on the test. Okay, so what we know right now is we have 24 students all together. That's our whole. And I have a whole rectangle right here. I have 24 students and I have 1/3 of them earned an A on the test. That means if I have them split up in equal groups, like this, if I have them split up into equal groups, this is my 24 students all in one rectangle, and they're split up into 3 equal groups. 1/3 of them, so one group of them, earned an A on the test. How many students earned an A on the test? So I already kind of explained to you, I have 24 students all together as my whole. I have them split up into 3 equal groups. That is a division problem. 24 divided by 3. I have 3 groups. I want to know how many are in one group. It's my missing number for a multiplication problem. So I have 24 students all together, and I divide it by 3 because I have 3 equal groups in 1/3. So 1/3 of them I'm going to find out is 8 students. So 8 students earned an A on the test. The way I know that to be true and as a fact is if I look at my whole group, if I have 8 students as 1/3 here, that means I have another third as 8 students and 8 students as another third. 8 plus 8 is 16. 16 plus 8 more is 24. So I know all together I have 24 students, which I know is a fact in my word problem. That's how I break it down, and I divide simply just by the denominator, which is 1/3. So divide by 3 of 1/3 because that's the denominator. I'm getting tired over my words. Okay, so that's how you break it down whenever you have a fraction of a whole number is you divide by your denominator. So, because this is an investigation, they only give us one example, and this is actually going to be our long word problem for problems 1 through 8, which we're going to be working on together, and I'm going to kind of start you out on the first 2 problems and help explain so that you'll be able to do the rest of the problems, hopefully on your own, or at least you can try to see how much you understand. So students were given 2 hours to finish a 120 question test. I'm going to underline that because I know that's my whole number. 120 question test, that's how many questions are on the whole test. Thankfully, you're not going to have a test that's long. That is that long. 1/3 were true false. That's kind of important. 1/5 were fill in the blank. I'm going to underline that too. 1/8 were a short answer, and the rest, it doesn't tell us how much, the rest were multiple choice. Stephanie answered half, there's another fraction, of the questions in the first hour. So the first question in this problem, or out of this story problem, the first question is how many did she answer in the first hour? Well, if I look back, she answered half of the questions in the first hour. So I need to figure out what is half of however many questions. I have 120. So that means if I put 120 questions in this whole rectangle, I'm going to split them up into 2 equal groups. That's a division problem. So if I do 120 divided by 2, that's our denominator, for half. 2 goes into 12 6 times, and 6 times 2 is 12, so that's what I subtract. I'm left with 0, but I still need to bring down my next digit, which is 0. And then after I bring down, I divide again. How many times can 2 go into 0? It can't, so I put a 0 up top. Subtract 0, still left with 0. There's no remainder. So that means 60 questions is half. That means she completed 60 questions during the first hour of the test. And I would label, I ran out of room here. So the next question on the test is how many questions were fill in the blank? I look right here, 1/5 were fill in the blank. I underline that fraction. I knew I was going to need it eventually. So if I want to find 1/5, I'm not finding what 1/5 of 60 is. That was half of 120. I want 1/5 of still my whole number, 120 question test. So that means, again, this is a completely separate problem, but I still have my whole number is 120. So all of these together equal 120, and they're split up, they're divided into 5 equal groups. So that means I'm going to do, I'll get a different color since we have a lot of black here. Still 120 is my whole number. It's how many questions on the test, and I want 1/5, so I'm going to divide it into 5 equal parts. How many times can 5 go into 12? It can go in 2 whole times because 2 times 5 is 10. So that's what I'm going to subtract. I subtract 12 minus 10, which is 2, and then I bring down the 0. How many times can 5 go into 20? It can go in 4 times because 4 times 5 is 20. That's what I subtract. So that means 1/5, we're filling the blanks. There were 24 questions that were fill in the blank. So this should give you an idea of how to get started for the rest of your problems, figuring out how many were true, false, how many were a short answer, and then the rest that were multiple choice. So you need to be able to write, you want to write these answers down and show your work. 60 questions we answered were completed in the first hour. 24 questions we know are fill in the blank. You're going to need this information in order to figure out how many were multiple choice. And we'll go over these together in class, and we're going to practice over these because this, I know, is a pretty difficult concept. For the most part, it's not difficult to solve, but it's kind of difficult conceptually to understand at times. And we're going to be seeing this throughout the whole year. So we'll definitely want to make sure that we have this down really well so that we won't get stuck on those problems when they get a little bit more difficult also in the future. Thank you so much for paying attention, and we'll have a great day.